when those lights go out, these cars get loud, and we go motor racing.
Coming through, big contact, this could open the door, and here comes Mark Fletcher. There's a spin with Samson.
We're into the final couple of rounds of the Motorsport UK Esports Abruzzi Prototype Challenge. This time it's Imola. We're setting ourselves up for our championship finale in just a week's time as well. It's great to be back again on this series. The Lmdh and LMP3s are ready to go again for yet another round of this championship before, as I say, our Silverstone finale in a week's time. It's myself, Ian O'Leary, and Cam Roger taking you through the action at a very, very difficult circuit here, Cam. We're definitely on the finishing straight now, as it were, in this season, but we've still got a couple of important rounds to go, and we don't yet know which way these 4 championships are going to go.
Yeah, it's very tight indeed, as we'll see when it gets points in a second. But it has been an unbelievable season so far with the 4 races at some completely different circuits in terms of the style of circuits that we go to. We come to another old school European track here at Imola before we have a little extra week's break before the big 300-kilometer race at Silverstone. That is going to be a bit of a challenge for these drivers, a bit longer than we have currently. It's going to be at least a sort of an hour and a half or so. Obviously 2 hours for that race, so it's going to be a lot more tougher for these drivers. They get the extra week, but for today in Imola, it's going to be tight and twisty, a lot more narrow compared to the likes of Spa and Algarve, where we were earlier this season.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very much been the theme of this part of the season. And Ben Ford has very much mastered it in the Lmdh Pro class. He's won the last 2 races, and he's going for 3 in a row here to really put the championship out of sight of Ethan Marone and Kostek Solveig, who is next in line. Christian Zaruta is another one of those who does have some championship aspirations. He's only 23 points off of the title. Those further down are a bit further away. Caleb Ramdam running out the top 5. Joe Coffin, William Foyle and Max Dillerdon, the only ones with positive points. Alfie Price and then Piotr Krasniowski is on minus points. Christian Maltrek is leading in the Lmdh AM standings by just 2 points ahead of Luca Monroe, who lost that championship lead last week. Adam Graveson's still there as well, just 17 points back. Loris Graglio does have mathematical contention, but he does need a pretty big result today. Francisco Zonta rounds out the top 5, the pole sitter from Watkins Glen, ahead of Wayne Baston and Nick Scott. Then it's Matt Simpkin, who crashed on the front straight last week, ahead of Bradley Seale and Stephen Hobbs, who has been in the walls the last couple of weeks as well. In the LMP3 Pros, it's Ethan Barford, 6 points ahead of Franit Sikorsky, who's not had a very good couple of rounds since moving up to Pro from dominating the AMs not so long ago. Ryan Walker just got past for the win late on last week, and the medal was there or thereabouts as well in the LMP3 Pros. Medal finished on the podium with them. Pedro Silva rounds out the top 5, and then those who are a bit further down, Callum Newton, Ben Cooper, Matt Cheverton, and Reda Uliel, rounding out the 9 drivers who've been at LMP3 Pro races. And then the LMP3 AMs, it's Jacob Jenner and Mikey Story tied on points, just 5 ahead of Jensen Bosworth in third as well, with Cav Budd just over 20 points behind. Byron Crawford's got an outside chance, so has James Fremont, but lower than that you haven't really. Rhys Tarrant, Cameron Judd and Craig Hewlett round out the top 10. as I mentioned, all 4 championships very, very close, but Ben Ford is certainly the furthest away, or indeed closest maybe, to sealing the championship. His worst score of a 4th place finish as well means you need to bring the margin to within 13 points here today. It's currently out at 20 for Ethan Marone, so a 2nd place and a fastest lap for Ben Ford would be enough to seal the title, or indeed a race win, which would be enough as well if Ben Ford were to make it 3 on the bounce.
Yeah, and of course you have the good old drop round coming into effect as well, so it's going to be some interesting maths, but as you say, we've got some really, really close ones like we have in the LMP3 AM category, so I can't wait to see how that is going to evolve over the course of the race. And as ever in the championship, really such a short, condensed calendar with just 6 rounds back to back to back. It's going to be, one mistake maybe, and you lose this championship. Sikorsky, especially the LMP3 Pro, Sikorsky's now had 2 bad races in a row and is sitting quite far behind Barford, so the points are going to be a big factor. But we'll get to that as the race goes on, because we are into the qualifying session, and as ever, this first lap is really slow for the LMDHs, so wait till those second laps come in and we'll see the speeds ramping up a little bit, but it looks glorious out there in the sunshine.
Certainly does, and it's not a circuit where you're going to struggle to get your tyres up to temperature anyway. There's loads of corners around here, but it is quite high on the temperatures, 39 degrees Celsius down on the track surface. The cold tyres are still a big factor to warm up though, even in these LMDHs, even in this temperature that we are experiencing this afternoon, and with the corners as well. It's still going to be a huge factor, but we're again expecting the tyre changes to be around halfway through this hour-long race, and that rejoin super important in terms of getting your tyres up to temperature and not crashing effectively. Getting that warming up period right again through that middle part of the race is such a crucial moment in winning one of these races in the top class.
Yeah, I can't remember the 2 cars now. I should have noted it down. But last week, someone came out 7 seconds behind their opponents, and within a lap or so, they caught back up. That is how slow it is on that first lap on the cold tyres. It is pretty crazy indeed. Here's Bradley Searle, who we spoke about quite a bit in the previous race. At Suzuka, actually, having a good fight up there, South African, as he comes across the line, currently leading in the Lmdh AM category. They've got enough time for a lap or so. Luca Monroe jumps up by 0.5 of a second, though, goes to 2nd place in class.
Searle's good to see that he's rebuilt his Ferrari, because as you say, was involved in lots of battles, but for the first 2/3 of that race, but unfortunately crashed out of spoon, and there wasn't much left of the front end of this Ferrari at the end of it as he was chasing Luca Monroe that day. So yeah, Searle is back on track again now, and hopefully he'll be having a better time of things here today. Just got toes wrong a little bit there, just had to have 2 goes at the turn-in down at the hairpin. Chasing Adam Grevson, who currently has the best time. He's 3rd place in the championship, trying to catch up to Mautarek and Luca Monroe. Don't see Mautarek at the moment in the session at all, so unless I'm missing him somewhere, that's going to be pretty damaging for the championship leader, although his drop score at the moment is a 2nd place, so he might not lose out on all that much in the end.
Yes, potentially. Potentially not. That's how the drop round works. So, of course, A, gives the drivers an opportunity to physically miss a round. But also, if you have a bad race, the worst part is, though, if you know you're going to miss a race and then you have a bad one as well, you've basically just lost double points, which is very, very difficult indeed. As you see Searle come out the final corner, Solovay jumps up into 2nd place. That's a lot better. He struggled last time out in Suzuka, just couldn't get anywhere near the pace that he showed at the Algarve. A long run to the line for Searle. He gets into the 31s. That's going to put him massively ahead. He takes a big step to get in that pole position.
Absolutely. That is a good time, but it's going to be challenged. There's Loris Gualio, who goes only 2nd. He got pole last week, but dropped back immediately at Suzuka. This is Andy Medal back to the LMP3 Pros. He's chasing Ethan Barford at the moment. Medal, who got that podium last week at Suzuka. He goes quicker, but it won't be as quick as Barford. It will be as quick as Sikorsky, though, if it counts. And it doesn't look like it did count. So Sikorsky is going to stay 2nd, and Barford's going to stay 1st. It looks like Ethan Barford is going to take the pole position in that LMP3 Pro class, and it's going to be pretty comfortable as well. Wayne Basson now makes his way up towards the line as well in the Lmdh AMS. Where's that going to see him? He stays 10th by the looks of that, and there's not many left now out on the circuit still to set some lap times.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shorter circuit, so the laps come in very quickly. 2 minutes to go. Of course, they are limited in terms of the lap counts they can do. Here's Nick Scott, who's had such an up and down season. Fortunately, last time, though, wasn't in the steward room. It's just Sikorsky getting a 10-second penalty, the only penalty from the previous race. This is Cam Juzzo, who's had a difficult run of races up towards the line, trying to get himself into the 43s, which he does so. But it's going to be 7th place in class for now.
Matt Cheverton just going a bit slowly through the middle sector. Maybe that's just the speed of the LMP3, I don't know. But he seems to have delayed his lap times. As you say, the times come in thick and fast here because it's a shorter lap, so that's why the lap times are pretty much done immediately here in this session, and nobody inside the top 24 overall are actually even out on the circuit, which says a lot about the state of the session. It should change, should stay the same, I should say, from what we see at the moment. Cheverton now through the final couple of corners. If this is indeed going to be a lap, then we're about to see it now. Up towards the line, 40.9 to beat. That's his personal best so far. Needs to go a lot quicker than that if he wants his clash pole, and he does go quicker than himself, but he will not gain any places for that. That will just be a time improvement. He will stay 6th in LMP3 Pro, and he'll be the last driver to end the session as well. In LMP3 Pro, Ethan Barford leads by 14 points ahead of Franz Sikorsky. He's finished 6th at worst here, so he just needs to extend that advantage, but I do believe that a win would be enough for Ethan Barford here to take the title, if indeed he's able to do that here from pole.
Which is quite crazy considering how amazing the battle was in the first couple of rounds, to be honest, between those two people. But Sikorsky, big incident in Watkins Glen on the first lap from pole in the inner loop, smashed it down the road. He had some further contact in a spin and a crash, which he received a time penalty for, and then of course lost out many points because of that back in Suzuka as well. So even though he's had the speed, hasn't had the execution. Barford though did of course not win the previous race on track, so definitely an interesting one with how it is going to work between the battle of those two drivers. I can't wait to see how that's going to work, because Sikorsky also 4/10 off the pole. That seems like quite a lot for him.
Yeah, it does really. Ben Ford has taken the pole overall though, and once again looking for that 3 in a row, 4 in 5 as well it would be. Kostek Soloveg is just in behind alongside with Jean-Marie Magny and Christian Zaruta sharing row 2. Ethan Marone is then 5th ahead of Bradley Searle, who's taken the pole in the AM class. Loris Gualio alongside, couldn't quite repeat last week's heroics with Adam Grevson alongside. Luca Monroe is going to start 9th overall at Wayne Basson, with Nick Scott and Max Spooner, the teammates, sharing row 6. Matt Simkin and Stephen Hobbs are also teammates, sharing row 7, with Louis Hesketh and Francesco Zonta next. Ethan Barford takes the pole in LMP3 and has Franz Sikorsky, who will also be with him on row 9, front row of the LMP3s. Pedro Silva's next to Byron Crawford, who is the first of those in the AMs. Andy Medal stuck behind an AM for the first time in a while. Jacob Jenner doesn't take pole this time round, despite his recent form. And it's Ryan Walker and Cav Budd on row 12. Perhaps a surprise to see Walker in 23rd. Mikey Story just directly behind him. Craig Hewlett next, ahead of James Fremont and Max Cheverton. And then Cameron Judd, who I don't think set a representative lap time that time round, really. 29 drivers it is this time round then to get underway for this race. And the pace car will pull away in the not too distant future to get us underway. But yeah, it's a very important race. Heading in towards Silverstone next week, you are going to want to have the best point score possible and be as close to that title as possible. And some of these drivers here today are going to be very, very close indeed in terms of actually sealing that title going into the final race of the season next week, which is, by the way, is our longest race of the season, 300 kilometres at Silverstone.
Yeah, that's going to be a good, fun one, because there will, of course, be, I assume, another pit stop coming for them. But for today, it's just a 1 hour race, one pit stop. It's going to be about 35 minutes or so on the stints for the LMDHs, and maybe near 40 minutes for the LMP3s. Did you notice, Ewan, though, especially in that LMP3 category, how close the lap times were? It was unbelievable. Of course, being a shorter track helps, but that was quite something in those LMP3s, just a couple of tenths separating all of that mid-pack. So it's going to be a close race in terms of the pace, but overtaking everything is, of course, so important as well. The drivers weaving around there, trying to get some heat in those tyres, do anything that they can, because the carnage that we saw on the opening lap in the Algarve with the cold tyres was quite something. We don't really want to see a repeat of that. This is definitely going to be one of those races where, especially in the Lmdhs, you can't let Ben Ford keep it nice and calm out the front. That's what happened in Spa, that's what happened last time out, and then he just romped away with it. We need people like Soloviev and Saruta coming through and trying to get ahead of it.
Yeah, I do feel like they've got more of a hold on the cold tyres so far, actually, as the season's gone on. Maybe that's just an anecdotal bit of evidence there, but it just feels to me like they've got a bit more of a handle on it now. Hopefully that comment doesn't come back to bite me. There are the LMP3s. They're going to get the green flag running down in towards the two Ravazzas, so they're in for an interesting start. And in fact, the run down into the Ravazzas is not going to be very long at all. They're barely going to be under the bridge by the time they get there, and so just as they hit the gas, they'll be on the brakes again, you would imagine, down for that tight left-hander. Into the front straight, though, very slow start for Ben Ford as he gets us underway here, waits for that green flag, brings the field to a crawl, really, and the LMP3s are now in the corner as the green flag's going to wave. Oh, and now they do get underway. Oh, and there's another crash on the front straight for the second week in a row. We've got LMDH cars in the wall coming on to the front straight. Into turn one for Ben Ford, though. He's going to take the lead here after bringing the field to a crawl on the front straight. He gets them underway with speed in towards turn one, and he takes the lead. Bradley Searle is in the lead in the AM class, just ahead of Monroe, and he's side by side actually as Searle with one of the pro drivers, and he gets away with it. So he's actually got a bit of a buffer now between himself and Monroe of one car. But goodness me, Matt Simpkin, Stephen Hobbs, Louis Hesketh all in the wall. Simpkin in the pit wall on the first lap for the second week in a row.
And here comes Pedro Silva in the LMP3. He's trying to get around to second place. He has. Sikorsky had a look at P1 coming into the second corner, but in the end, he drops a position. That is very aggressive there from Pedro Silva, who really struggled last time out. So this is good for him. But what this is going to do is allow Barford to get away up ahead, but a lot cleaner for the LMP3s than it was for the LMDHs.
Yeah, it certainly was, but that's what we've been seeing, and there's a bit more contact down into Minerale. Very wide for Loris Gualio as he made contact with Max Spooner, I think it was, down into that right-hander. He drops back now to 13th place overall. Christian Zaruta gets past, and he's getting past a couple of drivers here. There must have been trouble. There must have been trouble there through the chicane. Jean-Marie Magny, meanwhile, has got through into second place as well. Just as I was saying, they were getting used to the cold tyres, maybe not. A little bit more of a chaotic start this time round in LMDH.
Absolutely, that's a big issue for the championship, though. The number 2 machine, Saruta, dropping down, getting involved. Max Spooner's gone around, and in the 63 machine, he's dropped down the way. So we've got Simpkin, Hobbs, Hesketh already in the pit lane, and now we've got potentially Max Spooner towards the back. So it's already 4 LMDHs having issues on the opening lap of the race. But for the pro driver, Saruta, he's really going to have to come back. He's already 8 seconds off the leading class, and there's so many AM drivers now between, because there's only 5 pro drivers, but now he's got so many AM drivers to get back up even one position in class.
Oh, it could be 3 wide here. Jacob Jenner goes through the middle and he overtakes Byron Crawford for the race lead here. And they're side by side. We want the pros. Oh, and he very nearly got hit there by Dick Crawford. You can see in the rearview camera, he very nearly got hit. That's by Cav Budd, who's in the background there. Very nearly making contact down in towards turn number 1. Just in front of them, by the way, is Andy Madel, who hasn't got off to a great start. He's 4th at the moment, but he is a pro driver, and he's right in front of the AMs, holding them up in some cases as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's the biggest thing in this championship, the pro and the AMs being together in terms of track position, but not in terms of their category and their points scoring ability. So sometimes you have an AM category and then overall for everyone else, but here it's actually AM and pro. So the AM drivers have no relation to pro in terms of the points, and therefore their track position can sort of hold up some of the pro drivers. It's quite an interesting format, but it's worked out pretty well so far, as we're seeing Soloviev jump up into second place as Magny's gone down. He's dropped down. Marone has gone past as well. So the 28 machine has dropped down to 4th place in class. He's now got Bradley Searle, the lead in the AM category, right up behind it.
Yeah, Searle next in line ahead of Luca Monroe, who is in the second position. He is currently behind Christian Mautre in the championship standings as well, and they would stay as they are in the standings if indeed Searle off. Searle's off the road, and Luca Monroe's going to take the lead here, and with it he will take a net championship lead out of this race if things stay as they are. That was looked like an unforced error to me there from Bradley Searle.
And Grevson gets through as well. So 2 positions lost for your race leader. Let's actually go back to the very start of the race. All through the middle, 3 wide it was. And that must have been Simpkin on one side, Hobbs in the middle, and Hesketh trying to go in the middle and took out the 2 teammates of Simpkin and Hobbs. Not the best starts as Hobbs trying to get back with no front end on the vehicle. Simpkin going slow as well.
It's for the second week in a row that he's hit the pit wall in the first lap. That's what happened to Christian Zaruta. It looks like there was contact there. What now then? Let's have another look. I'm not sure Zaruta quite accounted for the fact someone was down to the inside.
Yeah, Solivar is a little bit late, but the door was kind of open. 3 wide going past Zaruta, 4 wide momentarily. Not ideal for the number 2 machine, but that's very interesting because, of course, the stewards will be looking at that later, you would assume. So the 222, who won in Algarve because of a penalty, might be losing positions at the end of this because of a penalty for himself.
Yes, that's the irony of it all. Sikorsky back to second meantime with Pedro Silva in third. Ethan Barford, though, is romping away with it at the moment. He will be going for 3 in a row here, if indeed it's at all possible. Frank Sikorsky is next in line in the championship, 14 points behind, but he can very much put this out of sight now, Barford, with a victory here tonight, I believe, anyway, provisionally win the title if he wins the race, but not 100% sure on that one. Well, I'll check it, of course, a little bit later on and maybe after the race as we watch these guys get onto the front straight again. Silva in the slipstream of Sikorsky. Don't think he's going to be getting anywhere just for the moment, and because of the short nature of this circuit, the leaders are already sort of halfway round to starting to lap the back end of the LMP3 field for the first time here today.
Yeah, they really spread out behind the safety car. The LMP3s were massively behind the LMDHs. I know there's normally a bit of a gap, but they were really, really far behind as well. So with a couple of issues towards the back of LMP3, that could always slow them down. And then, of course, the LMDHs are closer, which is good for us because then we get into traffic a bit quicker. But I wouldn't want to be an LMDH driver coming up to a battle like this. Look at this. That's what's 6 cars in a line. And imagine the faster class trying to get through. And one thing we know from earlier this season is in the faster corners, the LMP3s aren't actually that much slower. It's really on the straights, they just don't have the power. So the LMDHs might get held up a bit here. Traffic management could be quite important.
Yeah, and it's a really difficult circuit for that traffic management in any case. So even if they're not in a line all like this, which they are at the moment, so yeah, it's not especially ideal for these LMDHs at the moment. They'll hope that this group especially gets spread out a little bit later on. I think it's Ryan Walker at the head of it here, unless I'm mistaken. Maybe it's Byron Crawford, actually. Yeah, it is. Walker's just in behind Byron Crawford, who is second place in LMP3. Got overtaken by Jacob Jenner and is giving chase at the moment. Goes Jenner in the dark green going through the bottom of your screen. Ryan Walker very much caught up in this, really, as a pro driver. Doesn't really want to be involved in these. He's 5 seconds off the car in front of him and struggling to even get past the second place man in the AM class.
And Walker's had a few solid results so far this season. It's really kept him in with a good shout, actually, of the championship. I mean, he is 16 points behind, but he's had third, second in the previous 3 races, and now just struggling, going even further back. And here we go, as the LMDHs are obviously there, getting involved with the LMP3s. You see on the exit, though, of the chicane, it's really actually holding up. Oh, contact is made! Walker hits the back. He's going off the track as well, and that is going to be championship done with losing all that time and positions. Fortunately, there's a lot of AM drivers, but he may get a penalty as well.
Yeah, 16 points behind coming into today, and with that it might be over. Here comes Mikey Story on Cav Bud into the top of the hill there at Piratella. It's all kicked off here because of that little incident at the bottom of the hill, and now Story's going to be overtaken. Not quite, and they all pull back into line just about in time here. That's Hewlett just in front of Matt Cheverton, who's a pro driver trying to come through on all this as well. It's really kicked off in that group because of the crash down at Tozer. As you say, that's probably the end of Ryan Walker's charge now, and it's the end of Byron Crawford in the top 3 as well at the hairpin.
and that's all because Lmdh comes through, and then, as mentioned, is almost slower, holding up the LMP3, so there's a bit of a backlog, and a concertina effect, they go 1 into 1, and unfortunately Walker just couldn't get out of the way. I'm not going to say in any way that was intentional, we'd have to see it again. I think he was really just trying to avoid, but unfortunately too many cars on the same place at track at the same time. And look at all these LMP3s rocking basically the same livery, black and red, a bit of white, coming down the front straight here. They try and think about a move, but we'll get a replay to see. Yeah, it was in the middle of the road. Walker had to flick right, just couldn't get out of the way.
Live pictures. Solveig's gone round at the top of the hill, the Variante Alta. Yeah, it is. Excuse me. Yeah, I misidentified. It is the chicane. Bobbles over the curbs and spins around, and he's towed back to pit lane. Might be the end of that, unfortunately for him. It's a very, very difficult section of corners, because you effectively do have to ride those curves to go quickly, but these prototypes don't like it.
No, it's a really clumsy chicane, actually. I mean, if you remember back in F1 the last couple of years, we've seen, I think, Perez and Leclerc have some little spins there. It's really just awkward. Of course, it's been there for safety reasons many, many, many years ago now. So it's understandable being so fast down towards the final couple of corners. But, yeah, not ideal. And that is going to be a big, big issue for him, because Ben Ford is going to have so much fresh air out the front with very little competition as we get in towards the middle part of this race. He's already got a 6.5 second lead. I don't think Maroon's going to be able to catch him down, at least on pace.
Not for the moment. Ben Ford looking good at the moment here in this race, but we are only 10 minutes gone. I'm expecting pit stops in another 20 minutes yet, so plenty of time before that, plenty of lap traffic before that as well. Ben Ford is not too far behind Cameron Judd, who is the last of the LMP3s currently running in the field. Byron Crawford, meanwhile, gets past James Fremont down the straight and in towards turn 1. Here comes Mikey Story trying to do the same. He can't quite. They're all scrapping for second, but Jacob Jenner is gone out front here, and with Story currently tied on points with him coming into this race, it's going to be Jenner's championship lead going into the final race. But what can Story do about that? Not much into the Villeneuve chicane. Just have a look there.
Yeah, what a battle. This is going to be onto the gravel as well. Hewlett just watches on, waiting for something to happen. Has a half look down the inside. Story still trying to make his way around the outside. No move there to be made. No room on the outside. And Hewlett could really get a 2-for-1 meal deal here if he wants to get himself through. Just got to sit there nicely. But look at the train of cars in behind Cap Judd here as we work our way down the hill. Story's looking left and he's looking right. He's definitely the faster driver at this point, but really braking at the right time at this moment. But look at Story all over the back of him, clearly the faster driver, but in Imola it's hard to overtake down the inside to Variante Alta. Not always the place you want to go. It's so big on the curbs. Oh, contact is made. Story makes a contact there, but has to hold on to it, and he's going to drop down 3-4 places.
Bud thought he was going to back out, but Story kept his nose in there on the way to the Variante Alta, and again through that chicane there's contact, again there's trouble, and it's Cav Bud who comes off second best out of that one. Unfortunately, he's just gone behind Matt Cheverton as well in the pros, so that's not a place for points he's lost, but pretty costly. And if Mikey Story's punished for that a bit later on in the steward's room, then that's damaging for the championship as well. Don't forget, he'd already be losing 7 points to Jacob Jenner, as I explained before, but the stewards getting involved, that championship lead will be even bigger for the current race leader.
And it's quite interesting how all these things come together at once in all the different categories. We're seeing the championship leaders, get really, really far ahead in terms of this race. So the results today here at Imola, I think, are going to be quite big in terms of the championship story coming in towards the Silverstone 300 kilometres in a couple of weeks' time. So you go back to the MDHs. Is Nick Scott, who's in a decent battle. He's got Zonta just up ahead of him. So he's got Shuruta behind, who's not for class position, but of course is still there on the track. We also have one of the Acuras a little bit further behind, which is Gualio, as he tries to regain from a little incident earlier too. So very busy out there on the track.
It is very busy indeed. It's exactly what we hoped for from this circuit. Lots of battling, and there's a battle for the Lmdh AM lead, which is probably closest on the circuit. Also this one, of course, between Zonta, Scott and Zaruta, as Christian Zaruta especially tries to work his way through the field from trouble early on in the day. He now looks up the inside of Piratella. He won't get anywhere there, but yeah, as I say, look at Monroe under pressure from Adam Grevson here. Those two only 15 points apart coming into today, and Grevson very much needs to get past Monroe to try and well, reduce that deficit just a little bit with Mautarek not here.
Yet in the championship, he's still third place, is Grevson. He's got second place twice as his best result. Can he make it first? At least on the road for now. Down the inside, no, Munro just covers that one off through the kink into the final couple of corners. Munro's had such good pace at a couple of the tracks, but then a couple of the others, being Watkins and Suzuka, he then didn't have the pace. Very interesting. Or Agave and Suzuka, I should say, did have the pace. Very interesting how that works, but he's back on it today, and Grevson's trying to change that around. He comes down through turn 1 in towards the braking of turn 2. Not enough, and it seems like the top speeds are pretty similar between the two different chassis as well.
Yeah, it certainly did that time round. Cadillac versus Ferrari. It's the only class, by the way, Lmdh Champ today, where a driver's not going to score any points. Top 10 get points only. Matt Simkin has done a few laps, and so he will get some. Louis Hesketh won't at the moment. He finishes 11th, but hasn't happened very often this season. A driver starting a race and not getting any points at the end of it. As Adam Grevson gets closer to Monroe, he wants the full 25, and that's a big bit of defending from Monroe. There was barely a car width down the inside there for Grevson to get himself through, and he still very nearly tried to go through there anyway.
And what we're going to see with this is they're going to slow each other down, and Bradley Searle, you're going to see him reappear in the background as well in the red Ferrari. So this could be a three-way battle for the lead in a couple of laps' time. Munro slightly missing the line there actually through Variante Alto, way less aggressive on the curbs compared to Grevson, so that's just going to slow him down. Along with the defensive lines, he's not going as fast as that Cadillac can go, so this is great driving from Grevson to put that pressure on him. And we are seeing Searle really get close to another couple of tenths in the middle part of this lap. So Munro's under big pressure now, 1/4 into this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And into turn 1 is where a big challenge is coming here. Down into that Variante Tamburello. Turn 2, I guess it is literally, but first braking zone anyway. And Grevson not quite as close this time round. If this maintains, though, for the next 45 minutes, the pressure on Monroe is just going to continue to mount more and more and more. And, of course, that is thinking a long way in the future, because the pit stops are likely to spread this race apart even further. But there's another thing that's going to spread this race apart. LMP3 traffic for the first time, first of at least twice. That wasn't good English. First of at least 2 times, sorry, here tonight, that they will be having to lap that slower traffic.
And that, I think, is going to be one of the bigger talking points. So let's see how it affects this battle for the lead in class, as Monroe actually pulls away by a couple of car lengths in the sort of first quarter of this lap, and as we work our way back up the hill, LMP3 goes wide, and now Monroe needs to get the run, tries to get through, which he should have that one sorted, of course, way faster in a straight line, especially when the hybrid starts kicking in for these LMDHs. And as we go through the chicane once more, Grevson, way more curve, way more confidence, and he's gained a lot of time there.
Is there any space down here? That's going to be the problem. Monroe wants to keep the inside, but that's going to make it very difficult on the brakes. The Cadillac's going to do well to get that pulled up. He's very late, and he's got it pulled up in time. That was good defending there from Monroe, just to get it stopped in time. They both go wide of the final turn, and they have to take to a bit of the AstroTurf there on the outside line. Grevson still with the slipstream, though, of course, in that second position. He's not close enough, though, and that was good defending from the driver of the Cadillac. Normally, when you're on a different line down there at Ravazza, it's very easy for it to all go wrong.
And this could be the first opportunity. They get some LMP3 in, I think that's a Ryan Walker, through the corners. Not in the first chicane of Tamburello, but up towards Villeneuve. Is there going to be a little bit of hold up, because Monroe's going to have to sort of back out. Grevson could come in with a little bit of momentum, but I think Luca timed that perfectly. Though up the inside of Tosa, midline it's going to be for Monroe as he defends. Walker did go wide, but the door still hasn't opened. Let's see as we come up towards Piratella.
Another chance here to get past the LMP3 at least into Piratella, and they both manage it. So no traffic having split these two apart just yet. They are absolutely locked together at the moment, these two. Into Acca Minerale, the most difficult braking zone on this circuit, I would describe anyway. Out now on the other side, Grevson close again, but there's going to be another bit of lap traffic. Now, will they finally be split apart by this? Monroe has a look, but he can't get through there.
Oh, Khan, there's a bit of carnage off to the right-hand side. So the LMP3s go, don't know if that's a mistake, or pulling out of the way for them as they have 3 cars to navigate here as they come in towards the braking zone. It's going to be very tight there for Munro. He's going to have to dive it down the inside. Perfect timing on the traffic. Grebson gets stuck behind. And that is how you do multi-class racing, because Munro is going to gain a good few tenths of that and some car lengths between him and his rival.
Absolutely, that's how you do it. Luca Munro has gotten that little bit of breathing space, but how long is it going to last realistically? Maybe not very long, really. As we've seen already here today, it may not go on for too much longer as they come into the variant Tamburello. There's a lap car in front of them, and well, he's going to get away with that, and maybe actually a bit more space here into Villeneuve. Munro gets him and Grevston doesn't, so there you go, that's all you need. Couple of cars and you've got a bit more breathing space now.
Yeah, that was lovely there from Munro. Grevson going to dive half thing down the inside of Toza. That indecision there has also lost him some time. So Munro doing very good, although it is easier often to be the first car. When you're a little duo like this, it is easier to be the first car. When you're the second driver, you sort of get the scraps of what the driver in front of you has left in the wayside. So definitely Munro judging that to perfection, at least for the first time through that bit of traffic. Now Grevson needs to use his speed to get back. Searle hasn't actually gained too much on them. And if anything, the gap has increased up towards 3 seconds, so he hasn't had a good run through the traffic. So Munro being as efficient as he can right now.
Oh, trouble in front of him again. For the second lap in a row at the Variante Alta, there's trouble in front of him here. And that allows Grevson to get closer again. It was another LMP3 that had trouble. Nick Scott, by the way, is losing a couple of places in a couple of moments there as well, but that's pretty bad luck for Munro and Grevson, really. They've both come across trouble at that corner in 2 laps now. They'll be thankful that that is most of the LMP3s behind them, only a few pro-class cars to come now.
Multi-class racing is difficult at the best of times, let alone when you have some incidents ahead of you that you can't really see, especially through Variante Autumn. It's completely blind. Is this Nick Scott that you were talking about? Yes, it is. 25 machine coming down pit road already. So in theory, you can just about probably stretch it to get to the end from here, but very interesting to see the early stopper. Obviously had a few issues and just trying to maybe get off that set tyres, get some repairs and go again in the second half.
Yeah, I guess that is the plan. Just feel a bit on the early side, but there you go. Now through Toza again. This is where the busy part of the racetrack is again for those, especially in the lower part of the Lmdh AM class. This is where it gets busy, and for the LMP3 AMs. This is Cav, Craig Hewlett, Byron Crawford, all separated by just less than a second at the moment, and Hewlett is going to gain on Bud there, who just had to give a little bit of space into Acaminerolo, though he misses the apex. Hewlett just himself. Now, last couple of laps we've been at the Variante Alta, we've seen trouble here. Let's hope they all get through this time round. A little bit on the grass for Hewlett. He blocks up another one. Another bit of trouble at the outer. As meanwhile, Adam Grevson does get through. Finally, not even with the assistance of traffic, just gets through fair and square down in the braking zone at Ravazza.
Yeah, he's been faster at that point of the track for a good 5 laps now. They've been following. Munro loses a lot of time in that chicane. Grevson gets the run, has come in towards the braking zone, and he's got that overtake. They're coming up behind Jenna as well, who's leading in the AM category for LMP3. So he's got a good 10-second lead, actually, as Jenna over Mikey Story. Let's see how this one happens. Yeah, Munro way too wide on the curb. So he tried to block it off to the left-hand side, but it's actually very wide there initially on the exit of the chicane. So Grevson has the space, has to go around the outside of the little kink in towards the braking zone, and he managed to make it stick. So a lovely move there by the 54, who's fair and square taken the class lead.
Absolutely. That's exactly what you want down at the final corner, and it's exactly what Grevson's been looking for the last few minutes. If he were to beat Munro to the win, he would be 8 points behind him going into the next race. Munro would still be 2 behind Mautarek, although you have to factor in the fastest lap point as well, which will leave him till the end of the race. It's unlikely to sway things either way in that class, realistically. But ever since he's got through, Grevson has just got that seconds advantage, and he's now starting to sit on a bit of an advantage there out front in this field. As we go back to the LMP3s again, this is the AMs, and Hewlett versus Crawford. Cavbud's got away. And finally, we see Variante Alta cleanly this. Oh, no, we don't. Oh, dear. What is going on at the chicane today? Hewlett the one for a spin this time.
Yeah, that looked like it was all in his own. Too far behind was there to be some contact, so he's just taking it in way too much, loses the rear end, and as you say, Ewan, that's got to be the 5th or 6th incident that we've seen that, and a lot of the time, there's actually drivers on their own, so that must be a really difficult chicane today with drivers not able to hit that braking zone correctly. I mean, it is probably one of the hardest corners on the track for that reason, but let's see this once again, coming in there in second gear nicely. And yeah, that first curb, he did take quite a lot of it, but it just as he turned to the left, hit that next curb, the car was still oscillating and went for a spin.
Absolutely. It's such a tricky corner. We're seeing it time and time again here today. This is Andy Madel, just in behind Pedro Silva. He's finally caught up and is now really applying the pressure here. Madel starts the day 4th place in the championship, but only 16 points behind Ethan Barford at the moment. And that is a distance at which you can still close the gap here today. Although made less likely by the fact that Barford is winning at the moment. That does make it tricky. Down into the final corner. And having monitored the gap, actually, Madel has been trying to find a way through Silva for a little while, but is seemingly just a little bit stuck at the moment.
And these two, of course, batting out for best of the rest behind the two class leaders of Barford and Sikorsky, as we've seen so many times. Ryan Walker's actually 3rd in the championship, though. There's 12 points between these drivers as they battle for 4th place in the championship. Side by side, we're going to go in towards the braking zone. Madel around the outside, brakes way later. Can he get it stopped? Yes, he can. Aggressive move. He gets it done, but he's going to be very slow on the exit as Silva comes back.
Good racing between the two, but Madel should have this unless Silva can pull something off into the Villeneuve chicane, and he can't. So Madel goes through, he's on the podium, and that finally demotes Pedro Silva down a position. He's only finished on the podium once here, Pedro Silva. He's finished 4th, ironically 3 times other than that. If the form guide is showing the way it is at the moment, it looks like it could be a fourth place for Pedro Silva this season, ironically.
Not necessarily a bad thing in a competitive series, but of course there aren't loads of drivers in each of the categories because we split the field up 4 ways. So it's not like you have 15, 20 cars where finishing 4th is even better of a result, but certainly shows some consistency there, and he might be able to do the same again today unless he's able to catch Madel back down. But Mandy's been looking pretty good and pretty solid indeed, already getting a race win, of course, in this class back in the Algarve.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to start to feel like a long time ago. The Algarve race. Just 3 weeks it was, round 2 of our championship. As I mentioned earlier, in case you weren't with us, the finale is coming up next week. The Silverstone 300 kilometres should be about an hour and a half, but might go a bit longer than that. It will be... take us more than an hour. We haven't got to 300 kilometres in any of our rounds this season, but nor would he expect to in just an hour. That we, as you can tell, quite a high average speed. Meanwhile, into the... Camp's reminding me it's a week break. Apologies, I missed that. It's not next week, the week after. There you go. Barford versus Sikorsky into Tosa. And this is a bit of a resurgence for Fredrik Sikorsky. Been in a bit of a bad run of form the last couple of weeks. A self-inflicted incident at Watkins Glen on the opening lap before making contact with Andy Madel in the middle of the last race. He's looking to get a win to get back on track, and he's going to have to fight past Ethan Barford to do it.
Yeah, and this gap obviously did go up a few seconds at the beginning of the race, but now, as you get towards half distance and the fuel load is going down, tyres getting a bit worn, Sikorsky is coming back into this, and Barford is really looking in his mirrors. We're going to get a car diving it down the inside, as I think that's Grevson there, the lead of the AM category. Got Luca Munro in the background to come through as well shortly, but Barford uses that to his advantage and gets a good probably 2-3 car lengths gap as you come down towards this front straight, which is so important for the slipstream. But certainly Sikorsky is back on it today, and if he can get a victory, take those 7 points away, that could be very crucial in keeping his hopes alive back at Silverstone.
Yeah, it certainly could. as another one of the prototypes comes past the Lmdh's. That's Luca Monroe, who is giving chase to Adam Grevson, and at the moment it's going Grevson's way. Just under 2 seconds now the gap as we approach halfway in this race. Those guys will be able to pit pretty much on halfway if they come in next time around, which they may not do. They may well just leave it a little bit longer than that to tip over the halfway mark in this race. Let's see though, as they now come through the Villeneuve chicane, these two leaders in LMP3. We're almost too close to the pit stops now for French Sikorsky to really think about doing anything here, but he might well just try and spring a surprise before they both pop into the pit lane for a bit more fuel and likely another tyre set as well to get them to the end of this race. Again, if this is going to persist throughout the next half an hour, it's going to be huge pressure on Ethan Barford to take what could be a crucial win.
But they've been under big pressure before. They've had some big battles. I'm sure he's going to be prepared for it as well. But you never know what it's going to be when you actually get down to it and the pressure comes to you in the race situation. With how long we've seen the LMP3s run this season, we could even see another 10 minutes maybe out on the track. So that is going to be quite a few laps, a good 6 laps or so. But we'll have to see if that is what they decide to do. As we have Fussell come up behind them. At this moment in time, he's sitting third place in the Lmdh AM categories. Should fly past him down the front straight. He's going to catch him at a good time, but here's, of course, he knows not so. Decides to come down pit lane there. Actually, a bit of an undercut from the two leaders ahead of him in his class. But as for Sikorsky in the green LMP3, he's getting closer. He's getting closer. We've got some traffic coming through the middle. Is that going to distract him as we come up towards the braking zone? He's going to be too far behind anyway. Oh, they're going to be held up here, though. Massively held up. This is an opportunity.
That was not ideal. They really stacked up there as the Lmdh misjudged that completely. The LMP3 tries to stay out of the way. There's a flash of the light from Barford. Almost a sort of, what are you doing? Sort of flash of the lights there. But in the end, nothing changed. Barford was very close to running into the back of the BMW though, and that probably would have spun him around.
Yeah, I think that was Cam Judd at the back of the LMP3 AM category. Obviously, going a little bit slower. To be honest, his last lap was a good, it was quite a bit. It was about 6 seconds a lap slower than what Barford was doing. So no wonder the Lmdh was slowed down quite a bit there in turn 2. But fortunately for Barford, he was able to hold on and keep that position, because losing out a position, like if you were to say lock up or go wide, make a mistake, you can kind of kick yourself for that and you get annoyed, but you carry on. But if it's something else out of your control, like another driver in a traffic situation going slowly like that, I mean, you'd be absolutely livid to lose the race lead like that. But Sikorsky, he's getting close.
He is less than a quarter of a second, and now they're coming into Ravazza again now. This is going to be close down the other side of the hill, and no, he can't find his way past again. So Sikorsky continues to sit there, and it's going to be a bit frustrating for him, probably more than a bit. And now he comes onto the front straight, and again we'll have to get into the slipstream of Ethan Barford, but nowhere near this time round. He's just over half a second behind rather, as they go over the line. So they're probably over half distance now, but not many pit takers. Jeremy Emmanuel's been in from the Lmdh Pro class, by the way. He's battling for second with Ethan Marone, but that's really the only big name to have been in, other than Bradley Searle as well, who we saw. He's battling for a win in the AM class, although it's Grevson and Monroe who are dominating there.
Yeah, and the Lmdh Pro, though, there's just not enough drivers. Of course, got Solivay, looks like he's DNF'd. Saruta and Manu, yeah, they've had some issues, and they've stopped as well. So it's just Marone and Ben Ford at the front, then over a minute behind to Manu. So Marone's trying to do something with his speed, although that's going to be so difficult. He was 7/10 fast on the previous lap than Ben Ford, so that does bring some hope, but of course you never know if traffic is involved there. Ben Ford's just been so consistent out towards the front. He won Spa by 11 seconds, and he's already a bit more than that halfway into this race.
Absolutely. As they make their way into the Variante Alta again, Barford and Sikorsky. Proper bobble over the curve from Barford that time, and maybe there is a chance for Sikorsky now. Properly into the slipstream, under the bridge. He's going to look right and now left. Down on the brakes, late enough on the brakes. Oh, and they somehow avoid contact. Wow, Barford around the outside had full faith in Sikorsky there, and Sikorsky did well to pull the car up in time as well. That was good racing between the two of them. So close to contact, but they did avoid it.
I tell you what, I'm surprised, of course, he didn't get through there. I thought he had the move done as we just about got to the entry of the corner, but Barford was very strong on the brakes himself, sliding through the middle, goes to the number 9 machine as he backs out of it, actually, in towards the braking zone. That is Wayne Basson, who had a bit of a big incident at the beginning of the Suzuka race. Still hasn't got through, so he come down towards Villeneuve. Needs to be careful here. That's a late dive. That is not very helpful for Barford at all. Sikorsky's going to get a huge run up towards Tosa. Is it going to be enough? He's going to have to do a big defensive move to the inside. Sikorsky around the outside if he wants that race lead, but Barford just about closes that off, just showing how traffic can be so difficult.
Yeah, Barford saw it coming because he went defensive there, and Sikorsky's run even off the corner wasn't particularly strong, so he doesn't get anywhere again. And this could turn into a very frustrating hour for Fredrik Sikorsky if he can't find his way past here. Barford started the day, to remind you, 14 points ahead of Sikorsky in the championship. It would extend to 21 as it stands, and that would be an unassailable advantage as far as I can see for Barford, because his drop weeks are so strong. Sikorsky needs to get himself in front of his long-time rival here if he wants to win this title. As meanwhile, the overall race leader comes in, Ben Ford. That was a big slide from Sikorsky as he got super close through the chicane.
And that's going to hinder that battle for a little bit, but as you say, in the LMDHs we've got Ben Ford coming in, Marone in second place is going longer, which is interesting. Normally we see Ben Ford going longer than most drivers, but at least this is in line with what we've seen so far this season, about 35 minutes on the stint for the LMDHs, and he's going to come back out with a wonderful lead, I'm sure, by the time everyone else comes in. But look out for the outlap being very slow, as we've been mentioning, with these cold tyres, especially in the LMDHs. Very difficult to get up to speed and very easy to make a mistake, which is the important part. You know, he had a 13-second lead, but if he makes some big mistakes, that's going to come down very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely is. Now then, Munro into pit lane as well. We have already seen Grevson in, Bradley Searle in. Searle is right behind Grevson. He's going to get through here because of that cold tyres that we've been talking about all season. Searle is in front now, and he's going to come across the... He's going to come around the corner in a moment here. That in the background is Jean-Marie Magny, who will get through. And there's an LMP3. Oh, Munro's got to be very careful here. He's got to be cautious on these cold tyres. And he very nearly slides and spins. That was a huge save.
And he might get overtaken it by P3, not quite enough, but it was Grevson as well, sending it down the inside into turn 2. He gets hit in the back as well. Look how slow these LMDHs are on these cold tyres on the outlap. He's going around like a snail, way slower than an LMP3. This is crazy, the difference in speed, and he's lost so much time up ahead as well to Grevson. That is a big load of track position.
I think that's Magny in front. I don't think it's Grevson, although it did look like him. It looks a lot like him.
Same livery.
They must do, yeah. They look very similar. Not helpful, but Searle is the one who's closing in here. It must be, you know, we talk a lot about the cold tyre aspect of it for the LMDHs, but how annoying must this be to be an LMP3 driver, by the way? So frustrating to have that car in front, and every time you pull alongside, it just accelerates away on even a short straight.
And then you give him about a minute, and then look, and then he's pulling away when he gets some heat in the tyres. It is crazy how ice cold they are as we come out the pit lane. I mean, did you see that as well? Basically did a wheel spin as he works his way out of Tamburello. That is something you don't always see in a high downforce performance car, but that just shows you how important tyres are. And they are basically... you know, you have as much aero, as much physics going on, you know, in the world. But if you don't have the tyres connected to the track, then unfortunately they don't do too much for you. As you've had quite a few pitters now, so Ben Ford has come out as Marone has made his pit stop, and here's Searle defending in the LMDH.
Now then, side-to-side contact. Wow, that's Nick Scott coming through on the inside line, and he's going to get it. Searle there goes wide, and there's another LMP3 who's going to be frustrated. I think that's Ryan Walker, but yeah, Searle is overtaken. I wonder whether he had trouble there because Grevson's now nowhere near him all of a sudden. Meanwhile, Francesco Zonta came out in the lead briefly. He's now been overtaken by Luca Munro, and we'll see where Zonta comes out because he's warming those cold tyres up the best he can to try and stay in touch with the leaders.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting. I want to see where some of the other drivers obviously lost their time. It looks like in terms of the race, though, obviously Grevson had the lead and he's now behind Munro. Searler's lost a lot of time as well. He's 12 seconds off all of a sudden. So these cold tyre laps, you can very easily lose a couple of seconds here, lose a couple of seconds there. It's not like a situation where we talk about tenths per second for a pit stop cycle. I mean, we're talking about maybe even up to 5+ seconds you can gain or lose on the car ahead.
It's absolutely massive, that phase of the race in warming up your tyres and so on. Just changed the way that Lmdh races are happening here. That's it's absolutely remarkable. Just over 21 minutes to go, and we've almost had all the stops now. Ben Ford is leading by a long, long way at the front of the Lmdh Pro class. Ethan Marone is second, but as it stands, Ben Ford would be the champion if he takes the victory here, and it looks like he is going to. In Lmdh AM, Luca Munro is going to close the gap on Mautrek and going to take the championship lead. In fact, Grevson is giving chase because he's just overtaken Sonsa down into the Villeneuve chicane, but he'll be 22 points behind Munro. That is an unassailable lead for Munro going into the next race, but not on Mautrek. So if Mautrek's back again, then he will be able to take it off him. But Grevson out of the championship fight as it stands. He's got 2.5 seconds to try and change that.
Well, he's overtaken him once before, and he's going to try and do that again. He's got 20 minutes to do so. So let's see how this works. He probably has been the faster driver today. His best lap is a quarter of a second faster than Munro's, actually, to be fair. That is a quite important chunk in terms of a close battle. Quarter of a second goes a long way, and he is much faster through that chicane. He just looks much nicer. That racing line over the curbs, about half of the car is doing the business, whereas Munro is almost a full car away from the curb. So that's why he's losing time at that point on the track. Let's see if he learns from that in the final couple of laps as Grevson will chase him down once more.
He certainly will. Cameron Judd has been in the pit lane for a while there. He's dropping to the back end of the field, unfortunately, and adding to the list of retirements now, which would be at 5 if indeed he joins them. Be a real shame for all of those guys to be out of the race, but unfortunately it looks like they are at this stage of the day. This is one of the closer battles out there on the circuit. Barford and Sikorsky are likewise, but they haven't pitted yet, so we've got things to look at there as Cam Judd now does come out the pit lane after 1 minute and 3, so he just rejoined, and that is Nick Scott. Is it off the road? No, wrong one. I had a 50% chance there and I got it wrong. Matt Spooner went off at the Variante Alta. Another one.
Yeah. Max Spooner has struggled quite a bit this season, getting up to speed in that 9.63. Let's see what he does. Yeah, way too deep. He just went so fast into that first part of the chicane that he just couldn't turn left enough, and the front right corner does have some little bit of damage. So that's going to make it even harder in the final 90 minutes of this race. We got back to the LMP3 Pros, as there it is into the pit lane, undercut from Sikorsky. Normally going longer is better. So Barford has done that. He's led the race and he's going a lap longer. That is very good indeed. And look how far they've gone into this race. 41 minutes already. He's going to be basically 43 by the time Barford comes in.
Oh, and did he overshoot there, Sikorsky? I can't quite tell from this angle, but it looked like he just overshot there into the pit boxes, and that could really cost him in such a close battle. Franek Sikorsky leading them in, along with Pedro Silva and Andy Medal, who are also in. Medal now goes, and Sikorsky going with him here. That's a very, very close pit stop between these two. Medal was not very far away, and now he's right in behind Sikorsky.
I'll tell you what, we're going to have a three-way battle towards the end of this race, so Barford's probably going to gain a little bit with that issue in the pit lane, and also with doing the overcut strategy, but Medal is really in with this. Sikorsky's not got an easy run to the end, but way later on the brakes, he goes onto the grass, goes for a spin. The difference in the confidence there on the fresher tyres, he's going to have to wait for some traffic as well, and after there's me saying Medal's got a good chance of getting P2, he bins it into the gravel.
Well, he very nearly was turning that all around and putting himself back into the championship conversation again, but that spin surely seals his fate. It was just an error in towards turn number 1 into Tamburello. He probably got a little bit overexcited, really, seeing how close he was to Sikorsky. You just see he was slightly surprised by when Sikorsky got on the brakes and he went around in a spin.
Yeah, that's a big shame because he's been a strong driver in this championship, and that was another good opportunity. We come back to another battle up towards the front. This time it is Munro trying to hold on from Grevson. We've seen this before, haven't we? About 20 minutes ago with the blue machine trying to overtake the red, and they, I was about to say that, they were going to reignite that battle, but Grevson actually got held up just a little bit there. It's really a two-way battle, but Zonta is getting closer as the race progresses, so it might be a three-way battle in the final 10 minutes or so of this race. What a prospect that is as these guys go for the championship. Of course, Munro trying to chase down Mautrek in points, but Grevson at least just trying to keep the opportunity open in Silverstone.
Yep, if he wins, Grevson is in the conversation, but if not, then it's just Munro and Mautrek if they both turn up, of course, to the Silverstone race. If not, then Munro will be able to just bring it home to the end into Tosa. Munro is going to have a big bit of defending to do, and the traffic now is more evenly spaced around, so they will have a fair amount of it to negotiate. Not in the next few moments, but in the future it will be a factor. That last bit of LMP3 traffic certainly was, as Mikey Story now drops behind Jacob Jenner. The field is cleansed in LMP3 AM. Ethan Barford has also come back out onto the circuit, and look at the gap, 7.2 seconds. No such problems in pit lane for Barford. He is cruising now.
Oh my word, that is so much time that he's gained. I thought it may be like 3-4 seconds, but 7.5. Yeah, that is really game, set, and match. He's not going to lose. Yeah, what's that going to be? A second every 2 minutes or so. He's not going to be doing that, is he? Let's be honest. So that is going to be a solid race victory for Barford as long as he keeps it on the track. No mistakes today. Sikorsky with a couple once more out there. And it might be a second place that he has to hold on to in that 46 machine. Talking of mistakes, Munro needs to not do any. He's been making a few little ones, nothing massive so far, just a few little ones here and there, a few apexes missed, a few little wiggles, and now that really puts him under threat from even getting into third place because Zonta is coming.
Yeah, he is. He's really been lurking here late on as Francesco Zonta, which is very interesting, really. Not seen too much of him in the races this season, but he did take pole at Watkins Glen. Dropped to it for some reason. He got an end-of-line penalty as they were running to the line. I couldn't really work out what that was for. I don't know if you did. Got any better ideas at the time, but watching it, I had no idea. He dropped to the back anyway, and he showed us that, yeah, he does have the speed, but getting it together in a race is going to be where it really matters. And so far, he looks like he is growing into this race. He is that next driver in line, only a further second behind in the yellow and black there in the background, or the lime and black in the background. And yeah, he is in this game, although he does have 2 overtakes to make, which is at least double of anybody else.
But sometimes you've seen this in racing where being the third driver in line when you're not being held up is actually better. But when I say that, Grevson's got the run. This is how he did it before. Down towards Ravazza. He's going to go to the outside line. It's going to be in the braking zone. Munro's going to have the inside cover that one off. But what he's going to do is slow Munro down when we get to the start, finish straight, and there might be a move in turn 2.
And Zonta's going to gain on both of them again here as they slow each other down. He's very close this time, though, Grevson. He's got a better run through the final corner. And Munro brings it over to the left-hand side to defend into Tamburello. He wants the inside of the first part. If Grevson can hold it there, though, he'll have the inside of the second part. He breaks early, though, and Munro keeps the place. He breaks quite late. Grevson gets a smoother run through the corners. He's got a better exit here, and he's got a chance at coming through on the left. Maybe, can he get through? No. And a flash of the lights from Zonta says he's here as well.
Oh, what a battle this is turning into. 3 cars, the 3 that you see on the screen. This is all for position in the top of the Lmdh AM category. And we have Saruta in the background, a pro driver who may get his car involved in this track position, although it won't affect the points of these 3. Munro holds on, 13 minutes to go. What pressure this is going to be for him. It's going to be a good 9-10 laps before the end of this race. There's a lot of opportunities into the final corner, down towards Variante Alta to make a mistake. And of course, in turn 1, the best overtaking opportunity on this track, and he goes a little bit wider. Aqua Minerale as well. He just needs to clean up his lines a little bit and then gain those extra 10th here and there, and then he won't be under such pressure. Once more, he goes wide.
And that's a mistake, the biggest one so far from Munro. He can still protect the inside, though. Extraordinary. Here comes Grevson, though. He's properly door-to-door this time. He's got a best chance ever. Now then into Ravazza again. Munro parks in on the apex, and he's still got the place. Grefson cannot find a way through. Zonta was just knocked back. Oh, and he got damaged, maybe. Zonta in the background's gone into the gravel here, and he's falling by the wayside again, unfortunately for Francesco Zonta. He's not going to be a factor in this one. The three-way battle is short-lived. It's Grefson versus Munro for championship contention and the race win as well. Munro somehow holding on again.
This can't last forever, surely. Grefson's putting him up under so much pressure. Up towards Villeneuve we come again. Huge defensive line to the inside for Munro's. The outside for the 54 machine. He tries it, but he backs out of that one as Munro holds on to that position, and he's putting his car in the perfect positions. It's defensive driving, so he's slowing himself down. He's putting himself under more pressure. However, so far he's not being overtaken, so he's doing a good job in that Cadillac. And I wonder, was there contact with Grefson down the inside of the first Ravazza on that previous lap? Because Zonta definitely, there was smoke gone up on the background of shot, and then there was some issue into the final corner. I wonder if there was contact.
He was a little bit odd, but he just spilled off to the side of the circuit. And to be fair, he's only 3.5 seconds behind. Christian Zaruta's now right in this as well, but he won't want to get involved. He is at the moment 17 seconds off of any other car in his class, so I can't imagine he'll get involved. Particularly, again into Ravazza. Grefson's going to be blocked this time by the lap traffic. This is what I was talking about earlier on. Lap traffic is going to be a factor in the final moments of this one, but it is going to be quite spaced out, so certainly compared to what it was before.
Absolutely. Although a little bit of a mistake there by Grefson. He couldn't get the run he wanted down the hill with the traffic. He lifted out of that one, and then he made a mistake at the apex as well. And look at that. The couple of car lengths that he's lost is so crucial. To the outside, he's going to have to be with this LMP3 traffic. He's going to have to take a lot of risk there. He's actually going to lose some time. He's going to get the position, but he's going to lose a bit more time as he doesn't get the exit either. So probably a couple of tenths lost there from where he could have done. But then he would have lost even more if he sat behind. So that is the gamble that you have to take with traffic. He is the faster driver, just needs to clean it up, regain that track position so he's in behind, give another lap or two, and then he'll have another go.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to remember that it's a pretty daunting amount of time remaining, 10 minutes, i.e. not very long, but he is going to have time on his side. You only need one chance to go through after all, and Grefson has got to be confident that he's going to get that here again. Zaruta right behind him might be a little bit of a thorn in his side, but that's only if Zaruta really decides to get involved here and try to make the overtake. As I said earlier, I don't think he will, because he's got so little chance of any more places from Magny. He's 20 seconds behind third place now, so I don't think he's going to need any or going to try anything here, let's say. Into Ravazza again. This is where Munro's been super strong in that Cadillac. Breaking down the hill there on alternate lines is very difficult to do in these LMDHs, but he's nailed it pretty much every time. And Grefson is having to come into the pit lane.
Oh, that is not good at all. It's only been 11 laps since his last pit stop. Is this a drive-through penalty for the incident points? That is such a bad time. That just gives the race win potentially to Luca Munro. It does look like he's going all the way through, and therefore I think it is for incident points. It's easy to do around a track like this, and when he comes back out, not only is he going to be out of that podium fight, but he's going to be in about 5th place, 10 seconds off Bradley Searle.
Wow, that could be the end of that for Adam Grefson in this championship. He may well have realised that anyway, but it certainly is now. Grefson actually falling to his worst result of the season so far, which would be pretty disappointing for him, but I guess in another way that does show how strong he's been over the course of this season. Searle and Scott, they were going to fight for the last spot on the podium. Bradley Searle would like to recover this one, if at all possible. And he's going to do it at the expense of Nick Scott, if he's going to do it at all. But again, we've seen how difficult it is to overtake at Imola, and now there's only 8 minutes to go and do it as well.
Yeah, just had confirmation it was the incident points limit there for Grefson. That's one of the... I don't really remember anyone sort of doing that so far this season, so definitely a tough race out there on the track. He was pushing hard and trying to get the race win today, which would have kept him in that championship fight, but it's such a shame for him. That does put Luca Munro in a good position, because he's also got Zaruta in track position in between him and Zonta. He's got a couple of second lead, so this is not looking too bad. 7.5 minutes to go. A lot better than it was about another 7.5 minutes ago when there's 15 minutes remaining. He had 2 cars behind him. I thought there's no way he's even going to keep hold of second place, but now he might be able to keep that race win. Crazy how these races change around.
It certainly is, yeah. Oh, and off. Searle just a bit late on the brakes. Too late, and he goes through the first chicane. He has to slow down on the other side as well. He'll have a slowdown, I guess. Meanwhile, further behind, this is Basson versus Guaglio. Loris Guaglio trying to find his way through. A couple of pole positions so far this season, Loris Guaglio, but not really the best race results to go along with it, unfortunately. He did get a podium at Watkins Glen, which is the highlight of his season so far, but it's not going to be a podium or even a top 5 here today by the looks of things. And again, another driver will watch on board. We'll see how difficult Guaglio finds it to make this overtake as well.
Yeah, definitely a driver who's got the speed, as you say, in qualifying, but the race is where you get the points, and is a whole hour. So it's not a short race, it's not a little sprint race. You do have to keep it going. You've got a pit stop, you've got traffic. It's quite quite an advanced sort of style of series. But he's way faster there actually as we come through. Basson so much earlier on the brakes through Acque Minerale, but Guaglio not able to make that move as you come up the hill now. 6 minutes remaining, so it's time for 4 laps ish in this race. So Ben Ford, he's about halfway through the lap now, so yeah, probably going to be about 4 laps left in this race as the drivers now come to the end and look for their final opportunities to make a move.
Absolutely. Let's see what's going to happen here for these two. Through the final corner for Guaglio. As Searle comes into the pit lane, this will become a battle for a top 5 place because they're going to overtake him pretty comfortably here. So Guaglio will be up to 6th for now, but will he be up to 5th? Maybe a double overtake of sorts as he makes his way up towards the start finish line now. He's going to have the outside shown to him, and he's not going to brake late. He lifted off a little bit there for what it looked like to me. Basson pretty stern on the defence on the inside. Guaglio didn't seem to really want to brake that late to try and go around the outside for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's just so difficult. So difficult to overtake down there in Tamburelli. Really need that inside line, but even then, it's a very narrow chicane, so you have to be very committed, and especially if you're on the outside, you have to have your front of the car way ahead. If you're completely side by side or a little bit behind, you're never making that overtake, because even if you get around the outside, you're going to be pushed onto the second apex curb, which, as we know from the scenes of Lewis Hamilton a few years ago, going over there, very bumpy, and you're not going to get the position anyway. So it's easier and safer to keep it in line and try another opportunity.
How much is he willing to risk here to actually get this through Variante Alta they go, and into Ravazza. Guaglio is just not close enough again here. No Alan Grevson style attacks down into the Ravazza corner, and it will allow Basson to enjoy another lap in 5th place by the looks of it. Very close through the final corner at opposite ends of the corner. Basson looking for the late apex for a run onto the front straight, and Guaglio seemed to fly into the first bit of that final turn, but the late apex gives you the better run onto the straight, and so they go over the line as they were. Race leader Ben Ford, by the way, not actually that far behind them, so these two might get lapped before the finish, because there will still be 3 laps to go for Ben Ford. If they're not lapped, there'll be 4 laps to go, even though they cross the line with 4 minutes left.
And a similar gap to this is Munro and Zonta. The 32 machine, the BMW, is coming for the lead in the AM category as well, as we get a little bit wide there up towards the chicane. Basson goes, might be looking in his mirrors as we come up the hill, but he manages just about to hold on to that. Guaglio is definitely the slightly faster driver, can't quite find his way through, as this is Zonta chasing down Munro. Just a couple of laps to go, of course, and Munro's looking in his mirrors once more. When he saw Grevson get out of the way, he probably thought, I've got this one sorted, but no, Zonta's coming.
He absolutely is, and that would be good news only for Mautrek, really. Luca Munro is trying to overtake Christian Mautrek, who's not here today in the Lmdh AM Championship, and if Munro is overtaken, to repeat, and he finishes 2nd, it will pretty much stay as it is in the AM Championship, barring a point here or there for the fastest lap, but Munro isn't going to get that point at the moment. Into turn 1, and Zonta's close. He's hovering around, and there's still 3 laps to go here for these two. They will stay on the lead lap, so 3 to go, including this one. Munro might have thought it was all over recently, but certainly not. He's got a challenge to the finish.
As Nick Scott is back down pit lane as well. He's had a A difficult evening once more as we continue to see Zonta chase down. It's less than half a second now. So when it's at that point, Munro's really feeling it a little bit wide. He goes on next to Tosa, somehow continues to get the momentum up the hill, but definitely pushing the rear end of that car around in towards Piratella. Now, he's definitely using a bit less curb on the entry. Some of these corners I've noticed he's continuing on. Initially, I thought it was just a variante outer, but at some other corners as well. Let's see this once more as we come up the hill. This chicane up here, this is what's been losing him time. Can Zonta get the run? And always actually there's some LMP3 machinery in the way. Munro sends it down the inside there. He's actually lost some time and he goes wide again.
It was actually an Lmdh, I think, it might be damaged off the side of the circuit, but it has slowed Luca Munro up, and here comes Zonta into the Ravazza chicane. He's going to go for it into the impossibly tight gap, and Munro's off, along with Zonta. They're both in the gravel here. They're both going to get going at the same time. Zonta crashes into Munro again. Oh my word! The Lmdh AM leading battle has finally come unstuck here, and Alan Grevston all of a sudden is going to get a lot closer now, with Zonta having to surely give that place up. What a mess that was, down into the final couple of corners.
Yeah, that was way too late from Zonta, and also not even enough room. You could see that coming from a mile away. As soon as Munro was going to turn to the corner, the crash was going to come. So I wouldn't be surprised if Zonta gets a penalty from that one. But then to add salt into the wounds as they're trying to get going, Zonta tags the back of Munro as well. Of course, they're both on the gravel, so moving around a bit, but still, second time Munro goes around. So on the track, it looks like Zonta might be able to grab this race victory, but how will it end? Oh, there's such little space there, and he didn't really back out of it either once he got there, although I guess when you're on the grass it's difficult to do so. But then he spun a second time on the grass. Yeah, there just wasn't space. There was not a car width there down the inside, and Munro did a great defensive drive, and as he tries to floor it on the grass, he spins right back into Munro.
What a mess that was. Not a great battle all round, really. It was I think to begin with, too tight of a gap down the inside, to be honest. But anyway, it's going to be one argued about in the stewards' room afterwards. Ben Ford isn't going to have to visit the stewards' room, I wouldn't imagine, after this race. He's had another very, very clean race indeed. It looks like it's going to be 3 in a row for him, and a very, very deserved 3 on the bounce as well. That brings him a step close to an early title as well.
Yeah, he's been so dominant this season. He had the blip in the Algarve, and I thought, oh, maybe we're going to be getting a tight championship battle, but you can't take it away from the performances since then. He's been such a dominant force, but, you know, whilst there hasn't been the most entertaining race in terms of the battle for the lead, in terms of side-by-side, the quality of the driving is just absolutely amazing here from Ben Ford. So clinical out the front, getting those pole positions, and it comes around the final corner, another race win.
It's his 4th of the season in just 5 races, and Ben Ford is uncatchable now. The number 1 car comes across the line to win again. That BMW on top once more, this time at Imola. The checker flag waves, and Ben Ford wins the race in Lmdh Pro. Pretty comfortable in the end as well, nearly 20 seconds back to Ethan Marone. In the Lmdh AM class, it's not quite over yet. Luca Munro is close to Zonta. It's not close in the pro class of LMP3 though. Ethan Barfoot comes across the line to win once again. That should be the title for him as well, as Franit Sikorsky finishes nearly 10 seconds further behind. What's going to happen here? Zonta versus Munro with Grevston not too far away. These two are both damaged, and Grevston's really closing here. Surely he can't take them both at the very end. Munro's not going to be pleased about the incident from before, and so he's going to go for it into the variant. The outer he sends it, and he does go through. Luca Munro has just taken this win, has he, right at the very end, and got himself a championship lead heading into the 300-kilometre race coming up at Silverstone in 2 weeks' time. It looks like Luca Munro has stolen it on the last lap. Jacob Jenner comes across the line in LMP3 AM to win the race there as well. Jenner will take the championship lead from Mikey Story going into the final round, and Luca Munro will take the championship lead as well here as long as he keeps it to the line. A great pass at the Variante Alta gets him a late dramatic race win.
Wow, what a finish here. And this puts a very interesting predicament, because in many ways he actually doesn't want Zonta to get a penalty now, because that will give more points to Grevson. So very interesting how that one's going to work out. It almost looked like Zonta actually didn't really defend that. I don't know if that was somewhat remorseful or maybe some damage he wasn't actually able to defend. But what a chaotic end there to the AM category. But I think the deserved winner was still Munro, so I'm glad it finished that way, but not the way we wanted that three-way battle to go.
Not particularly, no. It was, a bit of a shame at times, but for the most part, wonderful racing between those three. But Ben Ford hasn't had to do much racing with anybody else this season. He gives himself a little bit of a pat on the back, I'm sure, as he comes into the pit lane, and he will celebrate victory in Lmdh Pro. Another one this season, his fourth for the season, and he will take, surely, the championship with it as well. Let's have a look at the race results after another hour of racing, this time from Imola. And it's Ben Ford who wins in the Lmdh Pro class, ahead of Ethan Marone comfortably in the end. Jean-Marie Magny on the podium. Christian Zaruta's early spin can sign him to fourth, with Kostek Soloveg down in fifth. I don't think he particularly enjoyed his evening at Imola. In Lmdh AMS, the only class where drivers could have not scored any points for finishing too far down, but Luca Moreau takes all 25. Francesco Zonta overtaken on the very last lap, with Adam Grevson down in third after that drive-through. Loris Gralio and Wayne Basson round out the top five, with Bradley Searle, Nick Scott and Max Spooner one lap down. Stephen Hobbs was two down, with Matt Simkin and Louis Heskiv, the drivers who clashed on the start-finish line. In LMP3 Pro, it was Ethan Barford who took it from Franet Sikorsky, with Pedro Silva on the podium. Andy Medal, Ryan Walker also on the lead lap, with Matt Cheverton just one lap down because of where the leader was. And then in the LMP3 AMS, it's Jacob Jenner who wins again ahead of Mikey Story. That would give Jenner the championship lead, but ahead of Story going into the last race, ahead of Cav Budd as well, who is on the podium. Byron Crawford also on the lead lap. Jem Fremont would drop one lap down. Cameron Judd three down. Craig Hewlett did not take to the finish. Well, let's have another chat to the overall race winner of that one, Ben Ford, who has taken overall victory again. Congratulations, Ben, on your third race victory on the bounce and a pretty unassailable lead in the championship now as well. How was your evening at Imola tonight?
Obviously, it was quite good. Won by quite a decent distance. I didn't feel comfortable. The car was, most laps was a bit of a mess on the rear end, but then the race wasn't great with the tyre wear. But other than that, yeah, I was pretty happy. Once the Ferrari behind me spun it and I had 6.5 second lead, I was pretty comfortable from then because I didn't have to push too hard, so it wasn't too bad.
You view this final race of the season now as well, because you should be far enough ahead in the championship, but there's still another race to go and win in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone. How are you looking forward to that finale?
Well, Silverstone's one of my favourite tracks, or probably is my favourite track, so I'm really looking forward to it. So hopefully I can round out the season with a good win there as well.
Well, congratulations again on taking the race win tonight overall, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Nice one, thank you.
Thanks very much. That's Ben Ford, who won the Lmdh Pro class. In the Lmdh AM class, it was a dramatic battle, but Luca Moreau came out the other side with the victory. Congratulations, Luca. What a final lap and what a final few minutes. What a race that was in your class. Just tell us a little bit about that final lap, first of all, and that run to the end.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw the little collision we had. Now, I'd made the commitment to go on the inside of turn 14, and I don't think Francesco, credit to him, was expecting that. We were lucky to get going before being passed by Adam, and we were just like crawling on that last lap. Adam was catching us tenfold, and so I don't know how I did it. I just went for it. And I went to the outside to dummy him, and then just go on the inside, a bit like what Ricciardo at Monza 2014. Oh man, I don't know. That was. We were just saying in there, like the guys are saying that's overtake of the season. I know Cameron will have something to say about that, considering the other two overtakes I've done this season, which have been apparently amazing. I don't want to toot my own horn, but that's what I'm just quoting Cameron there.
Well, yeah, we'll have a competition at the end, that's for sure, of the season. But how are you viewing that final race of the season, by the way, at Silverstone? If Christian Martirek does go to that race, you two will be fighting for the title there in that race. What are your thoughts going into that at Silverstone in 2 weeks?
Well, I'll always remember after winning the penultimate round of last season at Suzuka, I was like just happy to have gotten a win, and then as soon as I saw the point situation, I was a nervous wreck. and that was a week gap. This is 2 weeks. But I feel the pressure's a bit taken off because I've won the championship before. But yeah, I just feel like there's no holding a candle to Christian, honestly. Even though he hasn't turned up today. Obviously, if the whole, dropping your worst score thing wasn't in place, then I might be in a very comfortable position, but I'm not. Ultimately, I'm just happy that I'll be in the top 3. But yeah, again, 10 iRacing credits. I'll take every little bit to, fund the crippling habit.
Well, good luck for that in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks for chatting to us again, Luca, and congratulations on the win tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. That is Luca Monroe, the Lmdh AM winner today. In LMP3 Pro, Ethan Barford took the victory once again and now joins us as well. Ethan, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and congratulations on 3 on the bounce now here in this series. You are moving ahead in that LMP3 Pro Championship to a championship at the end of this season. How was that race at Imola here tonight?
It was super tough. I honestly did not think I'd have the pace at all during practice. I didn't think I was anywhere. I was going off track almost every single lap, making mistakes left, right, and centre. I don't know where I pulled it from today, but it happened somehow.
It's been happening for you in the last 3 weeks now as well. As I say, how are you viewing that final race at Silverstone now, knowing that it might be a bit of a dead rubber in LMP3 Pro Championship wise, but a big chance for you to go 4 on the bounce at the end of the season?
Well, yeah, it's been an incredible previous 3 races. I wouldn't say they're my strongest tracks. I've been surprised at each one, just how fast I have been, and winning it is incredible. But yeah, I'm not. The championship is definitely in sights now. However, anything can happen. Really can't rule out anything. People behind are still very much in the shout. So, until we cross the line, I'm not going to jump to any conclusions.
No, absolutely not. Well, congratulations on the win here tonight at Imola, and thanks again for chatting to us at the end.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. That's Stephen Barford, winner of the LMP3 Pros. Jacob Jenner won in LMP3 AM here today by just about 24 seconds. Congratulations, Jacob, on the LMP3 AM victory. You take the championship lead going into the final round, but I'll get to that in a moment. Tell us a little bit about this race at Imola, which you seem to dominate tonight.
Domination on paper, but in actual pace, Mikey was there the whole race. He got unlucky today, and that's sometimes you need luck to win a championship. Sometimes you need luck to lead a championship. So,
and you are leading the championship now. How confident are you that you can keep that title all the way to the end at Silverstone in 2 weeks' time?
With the fastest lap point, I think going into the race 8 points ahead rather than 7 is coming into my advantage. Because then, as long as I finish 1 position behind Mikey, no matter what position it is, I will win the championship. Jensen Bosworth could possibly win, but I think having that 1 extra point is a good buffer going into the race.
Yeah, it certainly is worth having. Congratulations on that gap and that win here tonight, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. That is Jacob Jenner, the LMP3 AM winner. And a couple more interviews just before we go from some notable names throughout that race. Francesco Zonta from the Lmdh AM battles here tonight. First of all, Francesco, welcome in. Good to have you with us. What a battle that was between yourself and Luca Monroe towards the end. Just tell us about it from your perspective, those final few minutes.
I think this is my shame, my mistake to do this move. But yeah, I talk before with Luca. Is no worries. Happy for me. I start from the back, and to reach the P2 in the IM category, I'm really happy. I didn't realize, but yeah, only in race incident we talk together.
And sort of, what is your sort of reflection from it, if you like, from that one? I mean, it was a dramatic battle between yourself and Luca. A bit of contact towards the end, of course, but Are you still pleased to have come out with a second place finish at the very end, at least?
Yeah, I did my mistake in this move. I can reach the P1, but yeah, I think he's going this. Yeah. Sorry for my English. I try to understand my English. Sorry.
That's all right. Don't worry. Thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us. Nevertheless, and congratulations on finishing second tonight.
Yeah, thank you for all, and yeah, I wish you in the last race, and see you in the next events.
Absolutely. Yeah. Francis goes on to second place here tonight from the Lmdh AM class, and in LMP3 AM, it was LMP3 Pro rather. Franek Sikorski finishing second here tonight. Franek, welcome in. Second place for you here in LMP3 Pro. Tell us how you're feeling at the end of that one. Back on the podium again for the first time since the second round of the championship at the Algarve.
Yeah, second place and podium finish is really something I needed after a very challenging 2 races at Watkins and Suzuka. I thought that if I pass Ethan early on, I might have a shot at the win today. But I knew if I couldn't do it, he's just going to play a fuel-saving game with me, which he did. But still, that P2 is something I really needed, as it was kind of tough for me going into this race because my spirit wasn't very up, and I needed something to make myself a gap from other guys in P3 and P4 in the championship.
Exactly, you have been able to do that, or should be able to do that at least in the last race of the season. But are you disappointed not to be maybe a little bit closer to Ethan Buff, especially considering the season that you had to begin with, or the start in the races, I should say, for round 1 and 2? Are you a little bit disappointed not to be challenging for the title in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing, but it's mainly, unfortunately, because of my fault. A big mistake in Watkins and in Suzuka, which would flip the table really. But yeah, I think the most important thing in 2 weeks' time will be defending the second place in the championship.
Absolutely. We look forward to seeing whether you can do that in a couple of weeks' time. Franek, thanks for chatting to us, and good luck for a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Thanks very much. That is Franek Sikorski, who finishes second here in LMP3 Pro tonight. Well, that's just about it from us here in the Abruzzi Prototype Challenge for round number 5, as we've been mentioning, and I've been forgetting on occasion. We are not here next week. It is the week after, when we're back for the Silverstone 300-kilometre race, live at the same time you found this broadcast on July the 30th, although we'll be running a little bit longer into the evening, as it should take about an hour and a half for the drivers to complete that race distance. A big thanks once again to everyone tuned in, as I say, and that is just about it from us here. I've been Neil O'Leary alongside Cam Roger with Hugo Louise behind the camera. Until we see you in the next one for the final round of the Abruzzi Prototype Challenge in 2 weeks' time, it's goodbye for now.
When those lights go out, these cars get loud, and we go motor racing.
Coming through, big contact, this could open the door, and here comes Mark Fletcher. There's a spin with Samson.